If you're a fan of the Los Angeles Clippers, which I know there aren't very many of you out there, but if you are a fan of the Clippers, you probably woke up this morning thinking that everything's going to be okay. We pushed the Suns to 6 games without Kawhi Leonard, advanced to the conference finals for the first time in 51 years, mostly without Kawhi Leonard. Next year, once Kawhi is healthy, we're going to contend for a title. Now, first of all, I got to give credit to Paul George. I've always been hard on Paul George for his tendency to disappear in the playoffs, especially in big moments. Now, I know he didn't play well last night, but I think that had more to do with fatigue than anything else. Paul George earned my respect this year in the playoffs. He literally carried this team. When Kawhi Leonard went down, everyone thought it was over for the Clippers. But Paul George did what superstar players are supposed to do. He stepped up when his team needed him. He stepped up in the big moments. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's a number one option, a LeBron James, a Steph Curry. Paul George, more on the level of Anthony Davis. He needs another superstar with him, but he did earn my respect during the playoffs. Now, back to the Clippers as a whole and what it looks like going forward for them. If Clippers fans think everything is going to be okay, that this team is going to return next season healthy and contend for the NBA Finals, then I have some bad news for you. I just don't see it happening. The title window, it was already closing coming into this season, and I think that title window is now closed. I'm going to explain why. First of all, no one knows what's going on in the head of Kawhi Leonard. He has an out in his contract. He could exercise his player option, become a free agent this summer. Kawhi Leonard is the most unpredictable player in the NBA. Every time LeBron James has left a team, we all knew it was coming. When Anthony Davis left New Orleans, it was rumored for months that he wanted out. We're starting to hear that Dame Lillard wants out of Portland. My point is, most superstar players in the NBA, when they leave a team, everyone knows it's coming. It's not like that with Kawhi Leonard. He keeps everything to himself. Now, that being said, I don't think Kawhi Leonard is leaving Los Angeles. I mean, he's got a home in San Diego. He just bought a $17 million home in Los Angeles. He's got a penthouse near the Staples Center. He grew up in the area. Kawhi Leonard has roots in Southern California. He didn't have that in San Antonio, didn't have that in Toronto. Now, I know he's upset right now with the Clippers medical staff, which, when people found out, that sent some shockwaves throughout the NBA. When he left San Antonio, one of the first stories that came out was Kawhi Leonard being upset with the Spurs medical staff. But I just don't see him leaving the Clippers at this point. He likes playing with Paul George. And with Paul George just balling out in the playoffs, I could see Kawhi Leonard being willing to give it one final chance with Paul George before both of their contracts expire after next season. The problem is, the Clippers find themselves in a tough situation. I have said this same thing about the Milwaukee Bucks, but this was the Clippers' best chance to win a championship. All of the NBA superstar players, they're watching at home. Paul George made a comment after the game last night that had Kawhi Leonard remained healthy, the Clippers would be advancing to the NBA Finals. And Paul George is absolutely right. It's hard to argue against that point. But back to the problem. Kawhi Leonard is never healthy. I thought all of this load management was supposed to prevent injuries. That sure as hell didn't work with Kawhi Leonard this season. Once again, he missed a large portion of the season either for load management or nagging injuries. There is a mentality problem with this Clippers team. They have this mentality. We're so good, we can come out and half-ass, give half effort, and turn on the switch in crunch time and win the game. We saw this same thing happen with the Bucks the other night. It was announced right before tip-off that Trae Young wasn't going to play. The Bucks, they slept-walked through the first half. Atlanta built a big lead, and by the time the Bucks decided to start playing at a high level, it was too late. We saw it throughout the playoffs with the Clippers. It's like this team plays better with their backs against the wall. So they put themselves in these situations to get motivation to win. They go down 0-2 to Dallas in the first round, end up winning the series. But that was inexcusable. The Clippers should have swept that series, a gentleman's sweep at minimum. The Mavericks had Luka Doncic, and that's it. Porzingis is the softest giant that I have ever seen. No way that series should have gone 7 games. Then they go down 0-2 to Utah in the second round. They turn it on, win the series. Go down 0-2 to Phoenix in the conference finals. And by the time the Clippers tried to turn it on, it was too late. I have said it 1,000 times. You can't win deep in the playoffs with this type of mentality. Elite teams are not giving up 2-0 leads. Now, the outlook going forward for the Clippers does not look good. The reality is, they need to improve this roster this offseason, and they have zero cap space. They're entering the offseason over $36 million in the hole. Reggie Jackson stepped up big in the playoffs, but he's hitting free agency, and he is going to command big money for a player of his caliber. Teams will be lining up to sign Reggie Jackson after the postseason that he just had. He could be looking at an $80 million contract. How is Lawrence Frank going to pull that off? This is a horrible cap situation for the Clippers. All they really have is their mid-level exception, which is worth around $6 million, not enough to get Reggie Jackson. Improving the team through free agency doesn't appear to be an option. So the only other option is the trade market. Besides Paul George, who else do the Clippers have that could entice other teams to let go of impact players? What? Are you going to offer them someone like Luke Kennard? Who the hell can you get in return for him? Plus, his $64 million contract kicks in next season. The Clippers only have the 25th pick in the draft. No one cares about that. And they don't have another first-round pick until 2027. The bottom line is, the Clippers need help. And they're limited in their options to bring help in. Maybe they can get a guy like Kyle Lowry for cheap in free agency, an aging veteran looking to win another championship, willing to play for cheap. But other than that, the options are bleak. The Western Conference is loaded. The Warriors, they're going to be back next season. The Lakers, Utah, Phoenix, the Mavs, all teams that could improve this offseason. While the Clippers could possibly be worse. They're not going to have the same depth. At that point, the question is, are Paul George and Kawhi Leonard enough to carry you to the NBA Finals? I guess the better question would be, can Paul George and Kawhi Leonard stay healthy enough to carry you to the NBA Finals? Because with this team, it's NBA Finals or bust. Kawhi Leonard said it. Now, like I said, I don't think Kawhi Leonard leaves Los Angeles this offseason, but next year, if the Clippers once again fail to advance, who knows what he will do at that point. For now, it appears the title window is closing for the Clippers. Now, what do you guys think? Was this year the Clippers' best chance to win a title? Do you think their title window is closed? Sound off in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.